What's going on, everybody? Getting set up here. Doing a live stream. Oh, we are doing a live stream, and therefore, come here, boy. You get to meet another one of my fur babies. This is King, and he is the biggest baby you have ever seen. He kind of bullied me into keeping him. What do you do? Why are you hitting me like this? Why are you hitting me like this, bro? He's the biggest baby, I promise you, that you have ever seen. And he's mad because he wants to go explore because I got him a bunch of new furniture and stuff. But I know what he really wants. He's a cat. He wants to go scratch all my shit up. That's what he really wants. But what is it, buddy? Go ahead. Go somewhere. Scratch my couch up. Anyway, what's up, everybody? Can y'all share this video? We're going to get started here in a second. You're known to, but you're beautiful to me. It's a Russian cat posing into the American cat, right? It's what you would think nowadays. Oh Lord, let me go ahead and put him up because he about to get on my. I can already see it. I can already see it. He about to mess with me today. Hold up. Go with your brothers and sisters. Go on, because you sniffing around too much. It means you about to scratch something. Got some leather furniture. Got some leather furniture now, so I can't have them scratching on my stomach. So they got to stay in the room. But of course, I do want to thank you all for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. If you are just now tuning in and you missed the fur baby, well, you're going to have to just tune in earlier next time. You know what I'm saying? Turn on that notification bell. If this is your first time watching, make sure you turn on that notification bell and subscribe because we have a good time here. And I think anybody in the comment section, in the chat section, the super chat or whatever, they can tell you that our first priority amongst everything else will, one, is have a good time, but two, objective and unmitigated truth, regardless of what side of the political fence you are on. And so I do want to thank you all so much for tuning in. If this is your first time tuning in, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. I promise you will not regret it. And also make sure you hit that notification bell so that you can go ahead and get the updates whenever we post a new video. And I have a lot of videos coming out today, some huge interviews being posted. So if everybody is here, and by the way, I'm using this new YouTube app live stream software, and it's actually pretty dope. Am I on Steemit yet? I am on Steemit. Joe, I actually post my link to Steemit in the description. It's not in this current description, but I'll post it into the description. You can see any descriptions from my most recent videos. I haven't posted on Steemit in the last like 3 days. My fault. So Stephanie, you can actually YouTube, or you can live stream straight from the YouTube app now. So if you have a YouTube app on your iPhone or Android, you hear him trying to get out now. Now he wants to be in here because he hears me on the microphone. They only want to bother me when I'm working. That's the only time they want to actually bother me. When he thought I was just in here by myself, my cats, they don't want to, they're like, whatever. See you later, Dad. I'm gonna go play with myself in the corner somewhere. And then as soon as they hear me working, like talking to a camera, that's when they all want to come outside and sit on my lap and smack my phone. And now they've taught themselves how to use the iPad. I'm so serious. Whenever I'm editing videos, the one you just saw, King, he actually goes up to me and like goes up to the iPad and he does this, trying to move my clips across the screen. Asher knows how to, like, you know, when you're on Netflix for too long, you fell asleep and they're like, do you want to continue watching? Asher actually knows how to keep videos on. He does that whenever he's laying in front of my iPad and I'm asleep. It's kind of funny. But since everyone is finally here, I want to go ahead and get started. So I want to go ahead and get started. As you all know, Robert Mueller supposedly has indicted a bunch of different people as a result of the Russia investigation. Now, there's so much I want to talk about, but I am going to try to get into most of it after I read to you at least a portion of the indictment and the article from Vox surrounding the indictment, because so much. And I have a lot of videos that I need to post after this because there's so many different pieces, and there's going to be a lot of videos that I'm going to have to do because like I said, there's just a lot going on in these indictments. Most of it's bullshit, just to be clear. So if you want to know the overall message for most of the videos it's bullshit. The indictment focuses, this is the Vox article, by the way. The indictment focuses primarily on propaganda efforts of one Russian group, in particular, the Internet Research Agency. The group's operations, social media posts, online ads, and rallies in the United States were, quote unquote, primarily intended to communicate derogatory information about Hillary Clinton, to denigrate other candidates such as Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, and to support Bernie Sanders, and then candidate Donald Trump, the indictment claims. So let me just go ahead and say something. And that quote right there is directly from the indictment. So can I just go ahead and say, wasn't Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio were hawks, right? Hillary Clinton is a war hawk as well. It seems to me, and this is just my humble opinion now, it seems to me that this Internet Research Group, who may or may not be working for the Russian government, we'll get into that in the indictment. It seems to me, though, that this Internet Research Group just didn't want people who were going to try and take war to Russia, maybe? That seems to be the consistent pattern here, but let's continue. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm crazy. You know, that's what people tell me nowadays. Every time I say something factual, people are like, oh, wait a minute now. You can't say stuff like that. It's too much common sense. So I'm going to continue. We're going to see how it turns out. So, importantly, the indictment does not allege that the outcome of the election was changed. Whoa, wait a minute now. Wait a minute. Double back. This is coming from Vox. And so it's a big deal. It's a big deal because Vox is neoliberal as hell. Right? So let's reiterate that. Importantly, the indictment does not allege that the outcome of the election was changed. And it does not allege that any Americans or anyone on the Trump campaign was aware of or involved in this Russian effort. Oh, that's not what y'all claimed. This is a glitch in the matrix, ain't it? Because they kind of gloss right over that. Because then they say it does allege that some of the defendants posed as U.S. persons and communicated with unwitting individuals associated with the Trump campaign. Mueller's investigation has so far resulted, which once again also nothing to do with anything, but they decided to mention it anyway because, of course, this is Vox still. They have to keep up their appearance. Mueller's investigation has so far resulted in changes against 4 Trump associates on separate matters. In other words, that those indictments, like with Paul Manafort, Michael Flynn, all that stuff, nothing to do with the investigation whatsoever. Mueller didn't even really have the authority to indict them, by the way. Like I said time and time again, this is a game of little fish. You catch a little fish, let them go to get the big fish. So if you catch a bunch of unimportant lackeys, cronies, threaten their freedom, they get to singing like Tweety Bird. And that's essentially what he was attempting to do. So they even admit Trump had no knowledge. His family had no knowledge. And they said that 4 people were Mueller's quote unquote investigation has so far resulted in charges against 4 Trump associates. However, has nothing to do with the investigation. It's a self-contradicting sentence, people. Mueller's investigation has so far resulted in charges against 4 Trump associates on separate matters. So if it's 4 Trump associates on separate matters, then it has nothing to do with Mueller's investigation, except for the fact that he's trying to use them to snitch. So why say Mueller? Now, if you want to say Mueller is trying to connive because he has no proof. So he's trying to get people who are now going to be considered uncredible, by the way. They're not, they're going to be considered incredulous because you're literally using them to try and rat somebody out, but their stories don't even add up half the time. Like, they're criminals. And at least Manafort is. And Manafort's investigation, or the investigation into Manafort, had nothing to do with Mueller. That investigation started because of his business with the Ukraine. And that was years ago. So don't get that misconstrued, people, if this is your first time watching. If this is your first time watching, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button, people. Because it gets deeper. It gets deeper. So I'm going to go into some of the indictment. I'm not going to obviously read all of it, but I want to read some of the important parts. The United States of America, through its departments and agencies, regulates the activities of foreign individuals and entities in and affecting the United States in order to prevent, disclose, or contract improper foreign influence on the United States elections and on the U.S. political system. U.S. law bans foreign nationals from making certain expenditures or financial disbursements for the purpose of influencing federal elections. Interesting. I wonder if any of those oligarchs and energy tycoons are going to find their way to an indictment. Because last time I checked, if y'all remember, what did the FBI informant say? These Russians were so confident that Hillary Clinton was going to get the job done as far as approving Uranium One that they went ahead and started construction on their buildings in the United States and in Canada. Seems like one of those expenditures that they're talking about. But hey, I digress. Let's continue. And U.S. law requires foreign nationals seeking entry into the United States to obtain a visa by providing truthful and accurate information to the government. Various federal agencies, including the Federal Election Commission, the United States Department of Justice, and the U.S. Department of State, are charged with enforcing these laws. The Internet Research Agency, LLC, is a Russian organization. It's kind of where they needed to say Russian, but hey, they didn't want to say that. You know, it's funny that they said a quote unquote Russian organization. Like in the, not the memo, excuse me, but on all the information that was trying to debunk the Uranium One scandal, they were saying it's a Canadian mining company, and it wasn't. I mean, it's based out of Canada, but it's, for all intents and purposes, it's really Russian at that point. Like, and it's been connected with Ukrainians, Ukrainian oligarchs specifically. America. Thanks, David. I appreciate it. Happy Sunday to you as well. Absolutely. It's always a beautiful day to tell the truth, David. It's always a beautiful day to tell the truth. Thanks for the super chat, man. But they use buzzwords like Russian because it incites xenophobia. And for those of you who don't know what xenophobia is the fear of anything strange. You think that it's threatening. And that's what their intent is. They want to make you feel scared, which is bullshit. Oh man, but it gets better. It gets better. So the defendants, Mikhail oh man, I'm gonna love pronounce. Y'all want to see me pronounce all these names? Y'all want to see me pronounce all these names? It's gonna be a fun time. Okay, so the defendants, Mikhail Ivanovich Bistrov, Mikhail Leonidovich Borchik, Alexandria Yuryevna. Oh wow, that's Yuryevna. Oh, that's actually a pretty name, Yuryevna. Yuryevna Krylova, Anna Vladislavovna, Vladislav. Come on, these names don't even sound real after a certain point. Good God, but we gonna keep on going. We gonna keep on down the list. Robert. Oh, his regular name. Oh shit, what did I just do? Let me go back to this. Hold on. I clicked out by accident. Got too excited when I saw a regular name in Russian. Here we go. Robert. And then his name is like, his last name is ridiculous. Sergeyevich. How's my Russian, FBI? Bovda. Oh, this is fun. This is how you spell this guy's name, people. I'm not even joking. DZHEYKHUN. So I want you to think, the person just said, pronounce it exactly how it looks. You tell me how to pronounce DZHEYKHUN. What does that look like? What does DZHEYKUN look like when you're pronouncing it out loud? I would love to know. Dizikun? Nasimi Ogli Aslanov. Vadim Podkopaev, I don't know. Gleb Igorovich Vasilchenko. Irina Viktorovna, and then Vladimir Venkov. So, they all worked in various capacities to carry out the defendant's organization interference operations targeting the United States from around 2014 to the present. Interesting, people. Interesting. Which is often, I feel, left out of the indictment conversation. Actually, I did the name so well, I'm getting flagged for being Russian. Probably, I don't know, man. I've been getting flagged for being Russian for quite some time. So that might actually save me. They're gonna be like, hell no, this guy can't be Russian. You hear how he fucked those names up? But but what I find interesting about the fact that this quote unquote started around 2014 to the present, why 2014? So the elections really started around 2015. Bernie announced early 2015. Nobody announced officially in 2014. So where were the investigations at? Right? I think that's a legitimate question. Why did it become a big deal? Because Trump won. And here's the better question. Would it have been a big deal? Would we be talking about Russian interference? Would we even be talking about Russia still to this day if Hillary Clinton had won? And I think that you all know the answer to that. If you don't know, then I'll give you the answer. No, we wouldn't be talking about it. They would be thrown out the window. Because during the election, whenever everyone thought that Hillary Clinton was a shoo-in, Uranium One was really talked about by a few independent journalists, and then that New York Times article, of course, which was written in 2015, early 2015. But that article was explosive, and they did not cover it outside the New York Times. That involved Russians. So why wasn't it blown out of proportion? It's almost as if there was a political agenda. But let's continue. Essentially, they said they conspire with each other to defraud the United States by impairing, obstructing, and defeating the lawful functions of the government through fraud and deceit, for the purpose of interfering with the political and electoral processes, including the presidential election of 2016. That's a bold claim. That is a bold claim. So let's see what their arguments are. Beginning as early as 2014, the defendant organization began operations to interfere with the U.S. political system, including the 2016 U.S. presidential election. Defendant organization received funding for its operations from a Russian person, who I'm not going to pronounce the name, hoping that's a male name, or else I'll just mess that up too, excuse me. The companies he controlled, including defendants Concord. Okay, this is a bunch of bullshit. So money, they had employees, defendants posing as U.S. persons, creating false U.S. personas, operating social media pages. People. Now correct me if I'm wrong. But it seems like I'm reading an indictment for David Brock's Media Matters. Right? If you don't know what David Brock's Media Matters is, officially, this is not propaganda. He created bots to spread fake news. The entire purpose of Media Matters is literally to be a propaganda machine. So what he is saying, what this indictment, they said he impersonated U.S. people. Their idea of impersonating U.S. people is by creating social media accounts. I don't know if all those social media accounts were even if they even took place in America. Like is impersonating a U.S. person having a fake name with some ridiculous Twitter handle and then saying USA is my country of origin. That's a pretty low fucking bar for impersonating a United States citizen, in my humble opinion. But as far as I know, there's only one person who has a clear record of using bots, not only to spread fake news about other candidates, to lie and fabricate and hyperbolize a relationship, whether it be with Trump, Jill Stein, or Bernie Sanders with Russia. They lied, and they lied clearly, and they also worked with Google to suppress certain search results. Like, and Israel was involved, and Saudi Arabia. Hold up. So what you're trying to tell me is it is illegal for certain foreign countries, well, no, foreign countries according to this, foreign countries, period. It's illegal. I'm going to requote this. I don't want to get this wrong. Oh, okay. Departments and agencies regulate the activities of foreign individuals and entities in and affecting the United States in order to prevent, disclose, or counteract improper foreign influences on the United States elections and the U.S. political system. So what you're telling me is it is illegal for foreign governments to have improper influence on the U.S. political system. So what I'm reading is that Israel should not be allowed to have AIPAC. Nor should AIPAC, as a super PAC, be able to host all of the political candidates, which, by the way, Bernie Sanders was the only one who did not go speak in front of AIPAC. Remember that. But they routinely host political candidates and make them a bunch of promises and then get a bunch of money in return. Saudi Arabia, God. I mean, do we need to go into that? How much their royal family donates to our political elections? George Soros doesn't even live here. He's not even from this country. So, oh yeah, somebody brought up Chinese influence. And there is a lot of Chinese influence in our American government. Hell, they even changed the name. Do y'all know what is what? HSBC, the bank? It stands for Hong Kong to Shanghai. They changed the name to be an acronym without putting any of that in, because if you notice, HSBC, they've been growing exponentially over the last few years, and it's because we're helping them expand within our government. And that's economically, yeah, absolutely. In order to have any type of stock within our government, you have to be rich, apparently. So that's what they're telling us. So think about that, people. We're now being told that it's illegal for Israel and Saudi Arabia, in China, and others to do what Qatar, to do what they've been doing within our government, and yet we're going to Ukraine. I mean, the list goes on, right? I mean, what the hell? Why is now it's a problem because of the Russians? Because of the Russians, it's a problem now. Okay, let's go ahead and read a little bit more. So they bought some social media shit. It says over time, these social media accounts became defendants. The defendants mean to reach. a significant number of Americans for purposes of interfering with the United States political system, including the presidential election. So what you're saying is this organization, right, this nonprofit, let's just call it a super PAC, use social media. Stay with me now. Stay with me now. This nonprofit organization that we can compare to a super PAC during a political election used social media in order to influence the outcome of an election through activism. That's what essentially social media activism, that's what you would call that. Not directly breaking any laws, right? Unless they work for the government and they were directly told by the Russian government to do something. But they didn't break any laws. They seemed to be a registered organization to get the desired outcome that they feel would be best for their particular entity or perhaps even country. So what I just read is that we all might be Russian spies. Is that what they're saying? That you can't be from another country and use social media accounts to try and influence a desired outcome of an election, or at least at the very bare minimum, as this claims, to help spread knowledge about a particular candidate that you do not want in office. Yo, am I naive? Am I being naive? Because that seems to be a pretty fucking normal practice. I saw somebody with super chat. Give me a second. Stephanie, any updates on your call-in show idea? Actually, I do have an update. And that update is, so I am going to do a call-in show on Thursdays, which I was going to address later, but thanks a lot, Stephanie. But no, I'm going to do my main show on Thursdays, as an aside, will be now a 2-hour show. So the first half will be me ranting about whatever crazy nonsense is going on. And then it will be a call-in show. So anybody can call in on Thursdays. However, on the date, I don't know what date I'm going to choose. It'll be the same date every month, but then I'll do a private call-in show specifically for my patrons on Patreon. And that'd be dope. I'm excited about that too. So that will be more intimate conversations, a little, any questions that they may have. And so that will be live stream, call-in live stream specifically for my patrons on Patreon. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited for it. But yeah, so I'll have 2 call-in shows. And you ruined my surprise, Stephanie. Thank you so much. No, I'm just kidding. But let me go ahead and continue reading this nonsense. So, certain defendants travel to the United States under false pretenses for the purpose of collecting intelligence to inform defendants, the organization, operations. Defendants also procured and used computer infrastructure based partly in the United States. What? You mean they brought a laptop to the United States of America and logged into their Twitter accounts? Damn, bruh. Diabolical. Diabolical indeed. So, they use a computer infrastructure based partly in the United States to hide the Russian origin of their activities and to avoid detection by the United States regulators and law enforcement. Do y'all believe this? Do y'all believe that? Because I find it hard to believe that a hacker, especially one from an organization that supposedly is good, if they wanted to not be found, then they would just not be found. Maybe. Like, that's why you're good at your job. That's why you got hired for your job. But let's continue. The defendant organization had a strategic goal to. This seems like to be a bunch of just repetitious, nonsensical, like. It doesn't. What did they do? Who did they work for? If you're part of a private organization, what does it? How many private? There are literally super PACs or nonprofits, excuse me, in Israel. The reason that one of the reasons that DACA is still here is because nonprofits lobbied against Trump, believe it or not, to make sure that it stays here. I don't get it. I don't get it, people. But hey, this is their first count. Paragraph 1 through 7 of this indictment are re-alleged and incorporated by, what the hell does that mean? Oh, that's interesting. So paragraphs 1 through 7 of this indictment are re-alleged and incorporated by reference as if fully set forth herein. From in or around 2014 to the present in the District of Columbia and elsewhere. In another case, are you kidding me? Hold up. People. Hold on. Back. Now, if I am not mistaken, this is already something that's already happened. What this looks like, what that read like to me, is that they've already there's a case already addressed. As a matter of fact, we're gonna find out right now. We're about to find out right now. So let me close this. Y'all gonna work with me? Let's find out together. We can find out together right now, because that's some bullshit. If that's the case, oh man. Boom. Shout out to the iPad. We're gonna find out, because I'm gonna be pissed. I'm gonna have to do a whole separate video about this. 118. So for those of you who are curious as to what I am doing right now, because this is a live reaction to the indictments, by the way. I didn't read all of them. I only read summaries because I wanted to do a live reaction. And, I like us finding stuff out together. Makes it more potent. So, I am trying to read. Okay. No. So I'm trying to find out, because it said that paragraphs 1 through 7 of this indictment are re-alleged and incorporated by reference as if fully set forth herein. From around 2014 to the present in the District of Columbia and elsewhere, the defendants together were known and unknown to the grand jury, knowingly and intentionally conspired to defraud the United States by impairing, obstructing, and defeating law functions of the Federal Commission, U.S. State Department, U.S. Department of Justice, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to see if this perhaps had already. The reason I'm like searching is because it legitimately looks like they're actually trying to bring up something that's already being addressed, that's already been and is currently being addressed. Some of the sub points that it makes is that the organization employed hundreds of individuals from online operations, and they spent an annual budget equivalent to millions of US dollars. And I swear to God, I know I said this time and time again, but it looks like we're reading an indictment of David Brock's Media Matters. I'm not even joking. Fuck. This indictment is stupid. I don't know what else to say. Like, I'm going through it, and it's general director, high-ranking position. So it's talking about Mikhail Bistrov. Approximately April 2014, Bistrov was the general director of the organization, and it's the highest paid and highest ranking position. Subsequently served as the head of various other entities used by the organization to mask its activities, including, for example, Glavset LLC, where he was listed as the entity's grant general director. Okay. Frequently communicated. I don't understand. I'm not crazy, people. I promise you I'm not. I'm not slow either. But they haven't actually listed anything illegal. They said that they came under false pretense. I've been reading through this. I'm trying to. I don't want to bore you all with stupidity. Like it's. Their only legitimate charge, right, could possibly be, if they wanted to make a charge, is that they were doing activities that would be considered activities of a super PAC, and they did not register with the FEC. That is the only thing that I could think of. Chat, am I Muslim or Christian? Does it matter? I mean, I'm sure you don't mean that offensively, but I mean, does it matter what I am? Just out of curiosity. I am unidentified. But essentially, this is nothing. And most importantly, because they keep trying to say that they were influencing the election, right? I'm doing a separate video on this, but as a short aside, no, it wasn't to influence. They may have started to work together, right? And they may have done some influence on Twitter, minimal. But on Facebook specifically, which is where a lot of the main charges began, the vice president just came out about a day and a half ago saying absolutely not. Russians did not buy any ads that were anti-Clinton for Facebook until after the 2016 election. So, yeah. Not to mention, if you notice, in this particular indictment, unless there's, like I said, there might be more coming out. There is absolutely nothing in this indictment linking them to the government. Thanks for the super chat later. I greatly appreciate it. There's absolutely nothing whatsoever linking this entity, which is, they call it Internet Research Agency. They're not linking them back to the Russian government. They have not done so. Only thing they said is that they're Russian, and so we're indicted them. Yeah, because that's the way to make sure we don't have mass xenophobia and ridiculous levels of hysteria across the political environment. Because they're Russian and they're a business, we should indict them. I want to replace that with a couple of other sentences, right? So remember how they used to do black movements and still do when it comes to like black movements in the United States? So because they're black, that means they're clearly, because this, I'm not joking, this is an exaggeration. So because they're black and they're for liberation of black people in regards to institutional racism, clearly they work for communists and we need to monitor them. Because they're Mexican and they happen to speak Spanish, clearly they work for the drug cartels in Mexico that's directly connected to the Mexican government. And they tweeted some stuff, so now we have to indict them. Because they are feminists, because they are a woman, then clearly they're communists, or else they wouldn't be trying to fight for equal rights for women. So we must monitor them. I mean, do you hear what? When you replace Russian with another ethnicity, a marginalized ethnicity or marginalized demographic in the United States of America, it gets a little weird. Because it rolls off the tongue for them when they say Russian so casually. Hey, this is a business, and they're Russian, and they advocated against a fucking dangerous bitch who everybody was pretty much advocating against. Therefore, we need to indict them. I don't actually think that is even legal. I know it may be legal, but is it lawful? Maybe. But if I recall, the only reason that Robert Mueller was brought into this particular investigation was because, well, first of all, he was brought in to figure out why James Comey was fired and if it was legitimate. And he still hasn't addressed that, by the way. But you were brought in because Putin colluded with Trump. That's what you told us. That's what the ruse was. That's what the mask that was put over, the veil that was put over everyone's faces, that the neoliberals so blindly believed. That's what it was about, right? You just knew for a fucking fact. In fact, Adam Schiff went on to Fox News, talked to Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson looked him dead in his face and said, look, man, okay, if you have an issue, you believe that this is true, look that camera straight in the face. Because if anybody could tell us whether or not this is truthful or untruthful, it's you. You're sitting on the Senate Intelligence Committee. So go ahead, Adam. Look that camera straight in the lens and say, we know for 100% certainty that Vladimir Putin / the Russian government directly influenced the elections by colluding with Donald Trump and the Trump administration. Go ahead, say it. He couldn't say it. Now, for the 130,000th time, which I don't know why I have to keep clarifying this, but whatever. Does that mean that I personally believe, or that most independent journalists, or almost anybody anywhere with any common sense, believe that Russia took zero effort into trying to influence the outcome of our election or anybody else's elections? No, that's not what superpowers do, especially when superpowers are worried that an imperialist nation on the west side of the world is trying to take over the fucking entire planet. That does not mean that they hacked our election. That's a tough thing to do. That's a very tough thing to do. That does not mean that they work with Donald Trump. That does not mean that they prefer Donald Trump. But y'all have been dangerously associating, and it's so crazy because I don't even like Trump. But y'all have been associating Donald Trump, the president of the United States of America, with a foreign government, saying, hey, we believe the president of the United States of America colluded with the foreign government in order to achieve his executive office. That is a big fucking deal. That is a problem. You have, even though, as many of you, if you watch my channel, you know we probably should have been lost faith in the institutions of our law enforcement at the federal level, whether it be FBI or CIA. We should have lost faith in them a long time ago. But they have directly facilitated the just total removal of any faith that should remain. For what? For what? You just tried to say that the president of the United States and his campaign and his administration have tried to collude with Russia. So after everything is said and done, everything, you've been doing this shit for 2 years. Well, not 2 years, pretty much, between James Comey and then Andrew McCabe and then Robert Mueller, who was brought in. 2 years of this bullshit. You got 12 indictments, or 11. Is it 12 or 11? 11 in an organization. All these indictments. And people got so excited. Oh, this is it. This is it right here. This is, by the way, yeah, they don't even talk to Trump. They have no idea who the hell that guy is. Trump doesn't know who the hell these people are. Never talked to them. Nothing to do with anything. Trump hadn't even announced running yet in 2014. People hadn't even announced running yet. For all we know, Trump could have ran as a Democrat again. But what the hell was the point of the if this is so fucking important, if Russia's involvement with the U.S. election and anything that has to do with the United States, if it is so, oh, battery getting low. If it is so fucking important, people, then why aren't you going after Hillary Clinton? Why aren't you going after the FBI? Why aren't you going off after every single head of that committee that approved the sale of the Uranium One deal? Especially considering that the FBI informant specifically said that they were all doing it under the influence of one Hillary Clinton. She used her power as a Secretary of State with direct influence in who gets to do what in the United States government, in the United States soil, because that's their job, is to regulate that. And she used her influence to sell 20% of our uranium to Russia. And then it even turns out that Russia is turning around and giving it to Iran, which is a whole other debacle. I believe it or not, I'm actually not against Iran having nuclear weapons. I think that I don't think they should. I don't think anybody should have them. If that would be nice, but that's not the reality we live in. But I am not surprised that Iran wants a nuclear weapon when Israel is. Think about this logic really quick, people. Think about this logic. Some drone flies over Israel, right? At first, no pictures come out. And then it turns out that the fucking drone looks just like an American drone, which Iran wouldn't have, nor will they have the technology to fix, considering that they're kind of in an embargo. We don't work with them really at all. And it would be kind of weird to send an American drone into Israel if you're Iran. Why wouldn't you? It wouldn't make any sense. So that's what they claim, though. Nobody substantiated this claim. But they claim that. So their response to a drone that supposedly came from Iran was to light up Syria. And then say, mind you, the drone didn't shoot anybody. They didn't say the drone that supposedly was flying over Israel. They did not say that the drone was weaponized. They did not say that it was military. They just said it was a drone that did literally nothing to nobody. And their response to that drone that was not verified, weaponized, that they even said it looked like an American drone. Their response to that was say, oh, that was Iran trying to attack us. Let's bomb the shit out of Syria. And you're wondering why Iran may want some nuclear capability because their fucking government is unstable psychologically in Israel right now. The people of Israel don't even like Bibi Netanyahu. This man is about to get indicted. They're corrupt. They take money from Saudi Arabia. They take money from Qatar. That government is absolutely 100% corrupt. So much so that it's even managed to convince the right wing of their party, the right wing of their country, that they are the victims after they have nuclear weapons. I think maybe India, but they don't have any problems with India. Pakistan, they don't have that many problems with Pakistan. But every country that they claim wants to kill them, so whether it be Egypt, Palestine, Jordan, any of the Arab nations, the only one that has a nuclear weapon in the entire region, out of the countries that are involved in the conflict, is Israel. And once again, it gets better. The only one who has protection unquestionably in that entire region from the United States of America, who has all of the nuclear weapons, is Israel. And the country that has the most advanced technology is Israel. And they also have the most advanced intel and the funding, and they're the ones who have verifiably committed human rights atrocities, not problems, atrocities, time and time again. Yeah, I said Pakistan does have nukes. I did say that, but them in Pakistan don't have a lot of beef either. It's because the reason why is because we don't have a huge problem with Pakistan, nor do we have a huge problem with India, so they're allowed to have nukes. But hey, you can. Chad said that I'm Israeli and we love Netanyahu. You can speak for yourself. Well, you better check his approval rating and stop playing. No, I have. I mean, I hate to say like I have the one black friend, but there's not that many Israelis around the world. So I have several people who I know that are Israeli, like work for their government still. Their own officials don't even like Netanyahu. They don't like people that he appoints. Netanyahu's a fucking psychopath, and he is corrupt as hell, and he fearmongers. He is like a mild version of Donald Trump, which is why him and not Donald Trump get along so well. It's like being from like the bottom corner of Alabama and say, we all love Donald Trump in the United States of America, when he is clearly divisive. I'm not saying you don't have your right to like him or dislike him, but what I am saying is trying to pretend as if the majority of the country of Israel loves Netanyahu, when you know as well as I do that Israelis are fleeing Israel regularly because it is getting out of control there, because their government, not the people, but the government, the corrupt people who are being paid off by the United States government, the Qatari government, by the Saudi Arabian government, etc., 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 those corrupt entities are fucking the people over in Israel, and they are leaving en masse. I don't know if you've been researching, but that's a fact. You got to step out of that little right-wing bubble, homie. Because look, Iran has every reason at that point, given all we know about the region, given what we know about the United States' involvement in the region, Iran has every reason to want nuclear capability. Russia has every reason to want to give Iran nuclear capability. And given that we definitely 100% have scared the shit out of Russia, given the recent Red Scare that we have initiated, don't you think it's pretty reasonable to think that Russia will be giving that nuclear capability to Iran? Now, the important part of that whole conversation is Hillary Clinton was the one who facilitated it. And this indictment attempts to make the claim that this random organization who just happens to be Russian, happened to use social media to spread the truth about Hillary Clinton. This indictment attempts to claim that they are uniquely worse than anything we have seen in the last 3 years, or really 4 years. What in the actual factual fuck? I just want some sensibility. I want common sense. That's all I want. I want justice to be served. That's all I want. Am I asking for too much? Absolutely. Our justice system is corrupt as hell. But Robert, you can hear him, huh? Yeah, he's whining because he can't come out here now. If, like I told you before, he hears me talking, so that's why he wants to be out here. But and he's actually banging on the door. But Robert Mueller's entire premise, him being appointed to this issue was predicated on Trump was involved. Clearly, as the indictment points out very explicitly, Trump's campaign had no knowledge of this organization. You want to know why? Because there was no fucking Trump campaign in 2014. What? Trump called up random people in Russia and was like, hey, get ready, y'all. Because that's what Trump does, right? Trump is so conniving. This is Donald Trump, people. 3D chess is not in his repertoire. Checkers, I think, may not even be in his repertoire. What the fuck? Oh my God. Hold on. He wants to come back inside. Hold on. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here, little boy. Be a little baby. Look who's back. He literally broke out of the house. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you scratching my back. But what do you want? What do you want? There's nothing in there for you. I know. What do you want? Look at him. Look at this. What I deal with, people. Don't get animals. I'm just kidding. I love them. But Jesus. And now that's Nala. But the moral of the story is Robert Mueller's point of being here was supposedly to link Trump to Russia. Why is Robert Mueller making indictments about something that has nothing to do with Donald Trump in Russia? Does that pretty much, you're getting the cut of my jib right now? If this does not have any, I'm not saying that you shouldn't even investigate this. I'm not saying that. Because if we need justice, justice needs to be applied objectively and even-handedly. King, stop with the nonsense, please. I'm almost done. Anyway, but if, you know what? I'm going to show you all some tweets that pissed me off. Ari Melber said Bernie Sanders' response to Mueller's indictment does not address that this Russian operation tried to help his campaign per the indictment. Just as I reported in reply to Trump, that is a remarkable omission. You know what's a remarkable omission? You try to link you claim that this entire situation was about Russians helping Donald Trump. But the indictment doesn't say that it was to help Donald Trump, because a remarkable omission that you have made is that this started in 2014 before Bernie Sanders announced that he was running for office, before Donald Trump announced that he was running for office. In fact, the only person that we knew, two people, that we knew for a fact was running for office was Jeb Bush and Hillary Clinton. So that's a weird omission that you decided to make. And of course, Joy-Ann Reid had to chime in on this. Particularly since his voters were the target of what amounted to a foreign-run voter suppression campaign. What voter suppression? But whatever. The Russians' goal was to get his voters to stay home, write in his name, vote for Jill Stein, and basically do anything rather than voting for Hillary Clinton. Hold on. Did y'all hear that? This is what Joy-Ann Reid said. The Russians' goal was to get his voters to stay home, write his name in, and vote for Jill Stein, or basically do anything rather than vote for Hillary Clinton. 20 million people who left the Democratic Party are all Russian? They're all Russian. Nala, what? Oh, Jesus. Anyway, Patrick, thanks for the super chat, said they might investigate Sanders and Stein next. Jill Stein is actually already under investigation. They're gonna prolong this as long as possible. These indictments came out right before the 2018 Democratic primary election, specifically because they can't go into a Democratic primary where Russia will undoubtedly be brought up and say, we have done not shit for 2 years, but bear with us and get something done. They can't do that. So we just said, look, everybody, 11 indictments. They have nothing to do with Trump, though. But 11 indictments. They have nothing whatsoever to do with Donald Trump. But 11 indictments. Oh, you know what I want to see next, right? Because, once again, predicated on Julian Assange and WikiLeaks are working with Russia. All these people involved in everything that had anything to do with the WikiLeaks are working with Russia. Remember that? even though the United Nations did exonerate him, said that he did not hack anything, but that he was working with Russia. That's what we've been telling our American government. Our American government, our mainstream media has been telling our country and the world that Julian Assange was working with Russia, people. That was a lie. It is still a lie, and I demand that mainstream media make amends and correct their fact. It's baseless lies. They were always baseless lies. In fact, not only were they baseless, but we had reason to. Okay. We had reason to. Really? Okay. I got you. I love you too. We had reason to believe, we had reason to know that Julian Assange was not working with Russians. In fact, he even put out links to show that he's like, not only was I not working with the Russian government, but I have released a lot of information on them as well, specifically about their government. And hey, don't say that. Don't say that my cat's controlled by the CIA. Don't do that. Don't break my heart. Don't insult my. He's that guy. I don't know. Some people were saying the camera's out of focus. Some people were saying it's buffering. I'm not even surprised anymore. Like, that's what YouTube does to me. When it's uploaded, hopefully at that point it should be uploaded in HD. It'll be fine. I'm almost done here anyway. But let me call up my cat CIA. What? Come on, man. Don't start no beef up in here, homie. Me and my cat, I'm down to ride for mine, homie. Shoot. All right. So, my final conclusion is that this is the end of the Russian investigation in regards to Donald Trump. They're going to hold this out as long as humanly possible, son. If you scratch my couch, I swear to baby Jesus, Buddha, and Allah. Anyway, this is going to be the end of the Russia investigation in regards to Donald Trump. They're going to stretch it out for as long as humanly possible because they have to get through the Democratic primaries. They're going to probably pause the news. They're going to release maybe one or two things, maybe one big indictment or a grand jury like trial, which would take way too long. But I always said that this had, once again, nothing to do with the indictments themselves. They're not even going to be able to win this case, people. They're not going to be able to win. Especially go to the Supreme Court. But what this is to get them to start snitching on someone else. The same reason that Manafort was indicted. They want small fish to fry the big ones. But I do believe that don't get it twisted though. This is still mainstream media. I'm not, but the mainstream media will still twist this into this is to clearly favor Donald Trump. As you saw, this is one day ago, even though Vox directly reported and the indictment directly says it was not to favor Bernie Sanders or favor, quote unquote, Jill Stein, and it was not not in favor of, nor did it result into any voting hacking or voter suppression directly. It was just against Hillary Clinton. And that is what I would call a political statement, not voter suppression. And the point I was making with Joanne Reed really quick before I finish up here, so she said that the Russians' goal was to get his voters to stay home, write his name in reference to Bernie Sanders, and vote for Jill Stein, or basically to do anything rather than vote for Hillary Clinton. That don't seem like it was the Russians' goal. That seemed like it was my goal. That's literally what I did every single day. I was like, yo, if you're in a certain state where it's cool, write Bernie in. If you're not in a certain state where it's like a swing state, vote for Jill Stein because she needs the 5%. Hell, if you're in a swing state, vote for Donald Trump, but make sure that bitch does not get in office. And I don't speak Russian at all. I don't even think there's such thing as a black Russian. Have y'all met a black Russian? There are Korean Russians, though. Fun fact of the day. Korean Russians were a big deal because there were a lot of Korean Jewish people at one point. There's still a good amount of them, but they were very persecuted because Korea is actually a very Christian nation, and they didn't like the whole Jewish thing that was going on during World War II. So they kind of like, hey, we don't want Hitler coming our way. So they got persecuted and ended up in Russia. Weird story, right? Fun fact of the day. Don't ask me why I know a bunch of random Korean fun facts. But the moral story is, it sounds like what she described was how pissed we were whenever 20 million, I was never in the Democratic Party, but 20 million people and counting left the Democratic Party, people. Had nothing to do with it. It had to be Russians. Had to be Russians. Holy shit. I can't deal with this level of tenacity without having some coffee. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to finish up. I'm going to go get some coffee. I'm not joking. I really am going to get some coffee. Coffee with Tim Black. Tell Uncle I plugged the show, and if you're going back to watch him today, I know you are. But I'm going to go get some coffee, take a little break, and then I have an important interview at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where the Clintons were involved and are currently involved in an international money laundering scheme using horse racing. It's a huge, huge story that has been attacked, undermined. Charles Ortel was even covering it at one point in time. And I have the guy who was directly responsible for breaking that particular story coming on at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today, this Sunday. We're going to do it live on YouTube. That is actually going to be my only live interview, and it's going to be part of the series of interviews that I am doing in celebration of our 500,000 view milestone that we hit, which is dope. So once again, thank you all who helped us reach that. Whether it be sharing, donating to Patreon, donating to Super Chat, watching the videos every time I post them, turning the notification bell on, subscribing, and any way you contributed, thank you so very, very much, because it's been really kind of like surreal, because I was worried. Y'all know I started doing this full time, not even a month, actually no, almost exactly a month ago now. And I was worried that the show wouldn't pick up steam. I was kind of worried that I would end up being stagnant, the show would be stagnant. And it turned out to be the total opposite. Whenever I kind of just was able to put more into the show and more time into it and bring you all more content, you all have reciprocated and have definitely brought in, you share more, you watch more, and you're subscribing and donating in whatever form you choose to, and it's been absolutely amazing. We have some big changes to the show, some crazy interviews coming this week. I have I don't know if I think I told y'all this, but I'm doing a series of interviews. I did tell y'all this. So I'm doing a series of interviews, including Hector Gonzalez, who's the guy I was telling you about the Clinton Foundation, Elijah Manley, former presidential candidate for the Green Party, also he's currently the candidate for school board at large in Broward County, and also is going to speak from his personal experience, actually, with his interactions with Nicholas De Cruz, the shooter from Parkland, who was recently arrested. Elijah Manley knows him personally. They sat beside each other. He reveals some crazy information that you should be like, what the fuck? How the hell did this guy not get caught? We'll also interview Shauna Manley. We also, I actually am in the process of writing a book, 2 books actually. I interviewed Holly Seeliger. She tells us how to pronounce her name on the, Angel just actually said that. I'm familiar with Jamar. I'm familiar with Jamar. I'm gonna try to get him on here too. Tim Black I'm interviewing Tim Black. I'm interviewing H.A. Goodman Tuesday. I'm interviewing, who else did I interview? Garland Nixon, if you're familiar with him. I have an interview from him coming up. And I'm trying to get Tim Canova as well. So it is dope stuff. Like I'm just like I said, it's a celebration of progressive minds, and not just progressive minds, but I mean any mind who wants to reveal truth. So having candidates on here who are known for that, having journalists on here who are known for that as well, I feel like it's just my way of trying to give back. And also, you should see some new shows on my network here very soon, probably starting this week. Um, so it will only be my face. You don't have to see my ugly mug all the time. Um, but yeah, it's going to be a good time. So, but I'm gonna go get some coffee. Uh, to talk to Joe Rogan about Seth Rich. I would love to talk to Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan don't even know who the hell I am though, so it'd be difficult to do so. But um, stay tuned. Give me about that. It's going to the interviews at 1 o'clock. I'll have some videos up in the meantime for you to check out. And if you're watching for the first time, subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Donate to our Follow $1 campaign on Patreon. And always, always remember, ladies and gentlemen, find your balance. Peace.